Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on ESPN 790 AM. Brought to you proudly by the Tennessee Wildlife and Resources Agency.
Hey, welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray. Good morning to all you folks in Brownsville on 1520 AM, 95.3 FM. News Talk 101.5 in Jackson, and right here in Memphis on AM 790, 92.9 HD FM. And, of course, all Outdoors with Larry Ray shows are on LarryRay.com. You can go to that. We've got all the pictures posted from the St. Jude Bass Classic. We've got them all up there. A lot of great stuff, and we'll talk more about that Bass Classic on our next segment with David Best of Primary Tackle. But right now, we're going to swap a little stories here because Allan and I go back a long way, and some of probably my most cherished and memorable events have occurred on Ames Plantation because he seemed like he always put me in places he knew I couldn't get out of. Whether we trudged through. What is a far piece for you?
A far piece, it depends on the day, and who I'm with.
With me, it was a long way. I mean, we fur pieced all the way through there.
You thought it was something you wear for a long time.
Yeah. But I do have to admit that the deer that hangs on my wall in my office was the 1115 deer at Ames Plantation that Allan and his son were there, and they were supposed to pick me up about 9:30 or so. Like that, and I was in the Apache, I think.
Yep.
The Apache, which you couldn't get out of without your help, because you're stuck in there about 20 feet up, and I said, when is he coming? When is he coming? And finally at 11:15, that big buck walked in right in front of me, and I was able to get it, and I'll never forget you and your son helping me get that big deer out, and it's a memory. Then I remember the time I did get lost out there because there were scrapes, there was rubs everywhere. North, south, east, west, and I couldn't get in there.
Yeah, but, I've never seen anything like it. I don't know how many there were, but there was a scrape on every other rub on every other tree.
Yes,
and you were in the woods, yes. And then a fog rolled in.
Yes, it did.
Yeah. I got a call. That's back when we first got little cell phones.
Little.
You called me and you said, Allan.
Yes.
Oh, I knew right off something going on.
Something was going on. Yeah.
You said, I don't know where I am. I said, well, tell me. What do you see? You told me. They didn't help. And told me something else. And I thought, okay, I think I know where it is. And sure enough, I went and found you, and you were still looking at rubs.
Was still looking because there were rubs everywhere, and I know I can't tell you how many bologna sandwiches you and me and Jim Cook have shared over the years off the back of your truck, and the turkey hunts that we have had and everything else. But I know that you're a great storyteller, and you were about to give us one about a blonde that I'm really worried about. I'm fidgeting here right now.
Well, you're a golfer, so I thought this would be
me
good
and Dave Gabbard. He is the golfer. I am the golfee.
Okay, you're the golfee. Okay, well, there was
right, Gabbard. Okay.
This fella got. How old are you now?
I'm 80 now.
All right, well, he got 79.
Okay.
And when he was 79, he still loved to play golf, and he could hit it a ton, but he could, we couldn't see it.
Yeah.
So he'd hit that ball and it'd go out of sight, and it was just frustrating for him.
Yeah.
So he was telling the tale to another fellow who was 80.
Yeah.
And the guy said, "Oh, hey," I said, "I can see." "You can see?" "I can see."
Yeah.
"And I'll go with you." And so he did. And so there they are, and he's getting ready to tee up, and he looked at the guy and said, "You can see? I can see down there." He said, "But you can see all the way?" "I can see that." "Go ahead and hit the ball." Well, he wagged around, and boy, you talk about nailing one. Off it went. Said, "You see that?" "Yeah, I saw it." Said, "You saw that ball?" "I saw it." "Where'd it go?" "Oh, I don't remember."
Okay. That sounds like one of ours, Gabbard. Where we've hit them, we don't remember, right, Dave?
Oh, that's why, that was the old standing joke about why people used a top flight golf ball.
Why?
You can't lose those.
You can't lose
them. You just can't. Sometimes you can't reach them.
Oh, you can't.
You know where they are.
you know where they are. But and Allan, I know that your times out there, you started the hunt club.
Yeah.
At one time, you guys had quite a few. I can remember our field days that we used to have out there.
Yeah.
We'd all line up and we'd be there and we'd get choiced. And then you went to the hunt club and the deer population in Ames. Tell us what's going on.
Well, we had the QDM herd there for a while, quality deer management, and it was very successful. Our guys were really doing well, and you give these deer in West Tennessee a chance to get a little older, and they will respond, and you'll have a few individuals that'll run around with really truly impressive racks.
Yeah.
But then they found CWD in North Mississippi, and I knew we had to have it on Ames, and we did. And it's not getting any better; it's getting worse actually. And so, what to do? Well, QDM doesn't work in a CWD atmosphere because you can't. The bucks are more apt to carry it, and the older bucks are. It's hard to get an old to be old when in that kind of a minefield.
Right.
So what we've seen on Ames is we've moved away from QDM and more towards CWD management, trying to harvest enough deer to break some of those linkages between deer. So that the disease doesn't get around, the prion doesn't get around as efficiently. And then we superimposed research. Just did some research with Dr. Steve Damaris down at Mississippi State, and we found for the first time we had 105 scrapes where we had cameras on them, and we identified 200 and some odd bucks. But between those scrapes, as they moved around social networking, we found over 6,000 connections. And many of those scrapes, documented for the first time, had prions in them, and the licking branches over the top. Many of them had prions. So it's kind of like, it's when a situation like that, when the deer are congregated, it's like us walking around licking the same doorknob.
Yeah.
And, food plots more like being in the same cafeteria, but anything congregates these deer. So we did that, and now we're looking at COVID.
Okay.
Deer do carry COVID, and the idea is they can get it, they can pass it around among a local herd, and then a variant, something we've not seen before that could or could not be dangerous, would spill back into human populations. But while we're doing that, catching the deer, we're also looking at CWD, putting collars on them, and the collars report to satellite every 30 minutes. And as soon as an animal passes away, dies for whatever reason, within 6 hours it gives off a death signal. We go out there and try to recreate what happens, try to get our samples. But we were catching deer all fall and winter, but we also brought a South African crew in. And
really?
Yeah, these people travel the world. They had just come from Utah to help us catch these deer. And they did. It was amazing. I didn't think it would happen, but they were astounding. And so we caught deer. We only could work part of the day because it was getting warm, and you have to be very, very careful within the protocols not to hurt these deer. Bring them in. We had vets. We had TWRA. We had a lot of people there who helped take care of them. And then once we got them all fitted with a collar, woke them back up and turned them loose.
Huh. And you're doing helicopter work now, you say? I mean,
well, that crew was in there for 3 days.
Okay.
And
was that the South?
Yep.
They're doing this by helicopter then?
Yeah, they park their car, as I understand it, they park their chopper here somewhere in the U.S., and then they go back home. But they go everywhere. And I asked the guys, I said, what's the biggest animal y'all catch? And he said, elephants. So I thought, well, that just pretty well catches it, doesn't it?
That does it right there. And I didn't realize that deer can get COVID.
Yeah, they get COVID, and they can pass it around. It's not as devastating to them as it can be to us. It does affect the lungs some.
Yeah.
But the fact that they can move it around back and forth among them, a local population, well, you could have viruses. If you use the word virus and changing, you're just about right. The virus is always in change mode. So you can wind up with a variant that we've not seen before, and it could or could not be dangerous. So, that's of interest.
Well, I can't imagine you retiring to the mountains of North Carolina and not wanting to do something. I just can't imagine you sitting on your porch in North Carolina saying, "Wonder if that deer, what does that deer over there look like? Do I need to check his toenails out or something like this?"
Oh, man.
It's a retirement. Just to me, I retired year 2000 from the paper, 34 years. Where am I now?
I'm still having fun.
I'm still having fun as best I can at my age. So I realize that. But Ames is one of those places, folks, that whether it's a manor house or whatever it might be, the historic area that they have out there. Do you still have the hunting club?
Yes, we still have the hunting club in another form. We used to have 80, 90 people who were primarily interested in having a chance at a buck that was older and had some size. Now we have, there's still those guys around, but a lot of guys are just there to hunt.
Okay.
And bring their kids and do that sort of thing. Instead of having 80, we've got 50.
You got about 50 now.
Yeah.
Well, I know it's a great place, and your time out there, you've had a lot of things that you've done. The turkey population, I'd like to ask you that. How's it doing at Ames? Because I've read some of your stories, and I've been on some of your stories, and you've left me in some of my stories, So talk about that, because I didn't get to hunt a time this year, and I really missed it. I probably broke my teeth. And they broke my teeth. I never did break my teeth. But I, broke my love of turkey hunting, not only through you and Ames Plantation, but Robert Clift, the great Robert Clift, and hunting with him. So what's the turkey situation out there?
Well, you go back, when they were first, TWRA first released them, you have something called ecological release. When animals move back into an area, they tend to explode into that, and then the system adjusts somehow, either diseases or predators or something. And so turkey populations have been easing down. Used to be we killed 80, 100 a year. This year it was 21. 21. So, TWRA has taken some steps to address that, and I think they've probably done a good job with that. I personally think so, to give those mature birds a chance to do some breeding before they have to withstand the hunter pressure.
Well, I appreciate you, Allan. Thanks for the memories, buddy. Thanks for coming all the way from Grand Junction. I'm sure this will cost me sometime. We'll find out, and everything. Maybe a meal or something like that. All right, let's take a break on Outdoors with Larry Ray, and we're shifting gears. We're heading to a little fish talk with David Best of Primary Tackle, SYS Wilson.